A person who thinks only about building walls, wherever they may be, and not of building bridges, is not Christian. This is not the gospel. As far as what you said about whether I would advise to vote or not to vote, I am not going to get involved in that. I say only that this man is not Christian if he has said things like that.
Wow, the Pope going at it. The latest feud in 2016 races between Donald Trump and that man, Pope Francis, as he suggests Donald Trump, not a Christian because he wants to build a wall and deport 11 million people. And Donald Trump, much to his nature, fired back.
If and when the Vatican is attacked by ISIS, which, as everyone knows, is ISIS's ultimate trophy, I can promise you that the Pope would have only wished and prayed that Donald Trump would have been president.
And he was reading those comments because it's serious stuff when you're sparring with the Pope. Trump going on full-out offense, calling those comments that the Pope made about him disgraceful. Here to weigh in is Fox News religious contributor, Father Jonathan Morris. And Father Morris, I know you were talking a little about this yesterday. I side 100% with Donald Trump on this. I'm stunned to see the Pope calling out a presidential candidate about his immigration policy. How do you feel?
Well, you know how Trump was reading off the script there.
Yes.
I wish Pope Francis also had a script before he said these things, because I think no matter how we parse his words, one phrase in particular, not the part about his immigration policy, but when he said that if Donald Trump said these things, then that man is not a Christian, I think he made a mistake. I'm not used to saying, you know, Pope Francis, I think you should apologize, and I wouldn't say that, but I think he will. I think he will apologize. I think he'll clarify, because, you know, we both say lots of things we shouldn't say, do things we shouldn't do, and we're still Christians, right? It doesn't all of a sudden, we don't stop being a Christian because we mess up. The Pope's larger point, his broader point, was that if we're just going to, from one day to the next, deport 11, 12 million, 15 million people, after the government, both parties, I would say, has tacitly invited them to come over, because they say if you can get through our porous border, and it is porous, well, you're going to be able to get a job. But you're not going to be able to get a real working wage. You're going to, you know, you're going to be living in the shadows. That, I think, is unchristian. Doesn't mean that Donald Trump is not a Christian. He's saying that that's an unchristian policy.
I don't want to get caught up in your premise, but the premise is it's against the law to go into our country illegally. Yes. So if you think it's a wink and a nod, you can come here. We need you to do, need you to work. We'll get you a job. That's something that's not on the books, the wink and the nod. But here,
it's not on the books. It's happening.
Right, but it's happening. But we didn't ask it to happen. We didn't ask people to breach our border.
I absolutely agree that it's immoral, it's wrong to cross a border illegally, no doubt.
But the Pope doesn't believe that. The Pope doesn't want us to have a border. That's why he had a mass at the Texas border tacitly condemning America.
You know what I think? I think Donald Trump and some of the other Republican candidates are not all that far away from what Pope Francis thinks about immigration. Why do I say that? Because Pope Francis is saying that the system as it is disgusting. And I think Donald Trump is saying that as well. They have a different way of going about it.
So after this took place, he spoke again last night, and the Pope came up. Listen.
You've been in fights with a lot of people, but with the Pope, I mean, does it give you pause?
I don't like fighting with the Pope, actually. I don't think this is a fight. I think he said something much softer than was originally reported by the media. I think that he heard one side of the story, which is probably by the Mexican government.
So he thinks as though he went on to say Francis is a pawn influenced by the Mexican government.
You know, I don't think he's a pawn. I think he knows what he's doing. He talks about immigration in Europe all the time. But, you know what, I think Donald Trump does have a point.
Yes.
That it's a very bad situation as it is right now, in which we have 12 million people who are working but are not documented, who come here illegally. That's bad for our country, and it's bad for them.
Right. Let's see what the people...
The solution, though, is not just put up a wall.
Right.
And that was his point. If you're just talking about building walls instead of building bridges between people, that's wrong.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with securing your border. I don't think there's anything immoral about it either.
I don't either.
But so let's see what the people says. When it comes to the issue of immigration, who do you think is right? The people on Facebook rallied and said Donald Trump is right. 86% said the Pope has 7% support, and 7% say I'd rather not be bothered, but I'll click a box.
Because, as we all know, people on Facebook are always very, very rational. Like the people who yell and scream at me on Facebook and Twitter every single day.
Right.
But, yes, I think you're right that both you and I, the Pope, would agree that it's the responsibility of a country to secure borders.
I think
no
you
problem.
and I agree, but not the Pope agrees.
And the greatest bridge, he does, and the greatest bridge is legal immigration. But right now, the poor in Mexico can't get visas to go across that bridge. Unless you have big money in your pockets, you can't get a visa. That's a problem. And yet we let them come over and we let them get jobs. Something very wrong, Brian.
There's a bunch of people at the Border Patrol who are not letting them, I don't think, unless they're being told to. Father Jonathan, thanks so much. The Pope asked you, and you expect the Pope to apologize.
Donald Trump doesn't like to fight with the Pope. I like to fight with you because it's fun.
It's unbelievable.
Smile.
I think I'm going to hell.